Lay back, relax, enjoy it all. Saturday night, it's time to say no more. S&M with Tally and KRC. Come pleasure or pain, welcome to the stream.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to S&M. I'm Eve. This is Tally.
Hi.
Tally's over here playing with straws. And with us today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Skeptalk from the Minions.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you young ladies. And that's the first time I've ever seen anybody drink Monster through a straw. But that's my wife.
Damn it, Tally's drinking Monsters without me. I went and got water to be like a normal human being.
I realized I was losing all of my lipstick gloss, so I thought, what's the best way I can lose as little lip gloss as possible? Straw.
It's a question I ask myself almost constantly.
Eve says she loves your bangs.
Thank you. They're not straight. I cut them in myself. I was sick of having my hair in my eyes.
Oh my god, guys, clocks are hard to read. You can kiss my ass, woman. We got distracted playing with our boobs. I know. I mean, Tally, don't you get distracted by your boobs?
I really do.
They're just so awesome.
Okay, so before we started streaming, we were talking about the fundamentals of human nature that socialism completely ignores.
yes, things kind of went into a place of
deep economic analysis.
Well, it was more of an analysis of human nature and how that conflicts with socialism so much as a discussion about socialism.
It actually appertains to a rant that I frequently go on my show, and when I'm streaming with other people, and the talk turns to economics, and we begin to talk about why are there different theories about the best way for people to interact, and what systems of governance and societal organization offer the best prospects for happiness to the greatest number of people. And so when you look at the overall answer to that, you can either look at a system that emphasizes opportunity and creativity, or you can look at something that requires precision and control. Socialism is the precision and control part of that, where you have a goal decided by essentially an oligarchy of thinkers.
You don't know what is actually happening on the ground.
Right, and they may or may not be tuned in to the realities of society. And the problem is that the collective error that accumulates by the time you get up to that oligarchical level is you actually have a class divide, and they really do not feel the same pressures and are sensitive to the same forces that the people on the other end of those orders.
They also don't have the same understanding of how things work on the other end, which is why in places like Zimbabwe, they had they gave farmland to political friends, essentially, and they did stupid shit like tried watering crops with diesel.
Yes, it's not ideal.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Wow.
So there you go. But anyway, and whereas capitalism offers the emphasizes creative and personal initiative, and is very much married to the idea that people want to reduce their own uncertainty, the uncertainty of their lives and the uncertainty of the society in which they live, in the environment really in which they live. And so in the pursuit of reducing that uncertainty, they will show tremendous amounts of initiative, work very hard, work very efficiently, always work harder and always work more efficiently than somebody in a collective situation who does not have the carrot out there of the personal reward. They're going to get paid the same thing whether they do a great job or whether they do even an inadequate job. And that's that. And the other thing, the other big difference between a capitalistic based system and a socialistic based system is in the socialistic bureaucracy, the goal of the person who serves in that socialistic bureaucracy, they want to see the status quo. They want to see the same thing day after day. Change is their enemy. In a capitalistic society, they want to see change because change is their friend. Change is their friend. And change is the enemy of the socialist, the bureaucracy, because any change is going to be bad because there's no possibility of increased upside. But with capitalism, the upside is the thing that's always there for you.
Well, the issue with socialism is it goes completely against human nature, as I said before. And the reason for that is because of the whole accumulation of resources to reduce the uncertainty. But the problem, if you go into a socialist society where everyone is paid exactly the same, no matter what they do, you're not going to have the smartest people going to university to become surgeons, because why would you put in that much effort if you're going to be paid the same as the guy that mops the floors? The smartest of people are going to go, you know what? I am going to mop the floors because it's less work.
Hold on. Let me interject real quick. This is for you, Eve, okay? That's for you. Just wanted to say. Okay, continue. She's teasing me in chat about our start time. Like, we don't always start like, she's like, 3 p.m. I'm busy.
I was ready.
I was certainly ready.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus, guys.
No, not at all.
It's not like I have to do all the get makeup and hair and outfit and make sure all of my stuff's put away on my puppies are not going to be rambunctious and rowdy. And then I got to go get showers and then set up the stream and then, you know, everything else, you know, send out tweets. Did I send out the tweet? I sent out the tweet. I did send out the tweet.
You did send out the tweet because I retweeted it.
I did not retweet it myself, though, so I had to go do that.
You definitely sent out the tweet because I retweeted it.
Did you tag me on the tweet?
I did.
Hang on, I should come up my notifications. I don't. Oh, there it is. Saw them all. I'll retweet that. We might get an extra person or two. You never know. Could happen.
It could happen, yes.
It could happen. So, at any rate, all of this theoretical stuff is really chilling when you begin to see what our government is doing with the revising of history through the 1619 project, the rewriting of history basically through the 1619 project, and the cancellation of the 1776 project, which was an attempt to countervail the lies that are in the 1619 project. You're not even allowed to say that they're lies. In fact, we could probably get in trouble for if we were doing this on YouTube. If you were doing this on YouTube, somebody could strike your channel saying that you were putting out misinformation, and misinformation is considered violent speech. Now, this whole business of classifying what people say is misinformation as violence.
When did violence become speech and speech become violence?
Well, it happened basically on the West Coast mostly, and a little bit in the New York City area. That's where that started. It was about 3 or 4 years ago, and you saw it happen on the college campuses, particularly Evergreen. college in the
Oh my
West
God,
and Berkeley.
Evergreen College, they
Sure.
had to close 2 of their dorms because
Yeah.
because a lot of parents saw the shit that was going down there, and they were like, you know what? Hell no, am I sending
Yeah,
my
because they
kids
made it on the
there."
news because they
Yeah.
act like fucking psychos.
Hope you enjoy community college. So anyway, yeah, the thing that has begun to chill speech is that there is now only one speech, one set of opinions that is permitted. And if you voice a different set of opinions in some places, you can go to jail. In England, you can go to jail just for someone having the opinion that you're thinking the wrong thing. So if you look at a person in a
Oh, it's
way
true.
that makes them feel uncomfortable, you can go to jail for 2 years in England.
Oh, it's true. 2 years ago, a very pregnant woman was arrested, had police come into her home and arrest her in front of her husband and her 2 very young children.
That was in the.
Bearing in mind, she
Australia.
was like, no, this happened in England. It happened in England. But this woman, she was very pregnant. Like I'm talking like weeks from dropping pregnant. And she was arrested in front of her children for saying a trans woman was a man on Twitter as an insult because of a disagreement that they had. Now, basically, she said it to piss this other person off because they were being a dick. And I am not for like saying horrible things to people. It's not nice. But this person said some pretty heinous things to this woman. So what did she say? Well, fuck you, you're a man.
And she went to jail.
And she was arrested for it. But yeah, so yeah, you can get arrested. Like here in England, you can get arrested for defending your own home against an armed burglar.
You're not allowed to throw them out. If you assault them in asking them to leave, you go to jail, even though they came into your home and stole your stuff.
Well, I know a few years ago, an elderly gentleman was at home with his very disabled elderly wife, and 2 armed men came in, armed with a knife and a screwdriver, and in the ensuing struggle, he accidentally killed one of them.
I remember this case.
And he got arrested, and the only reason all of the charges were dropped was because of public outcry. And they had to this elderly couple, bearing in mind the wife was very disabled at this time, they had to flee their home because the family of the burglar that was killed were leaving memorials to him on their garden fence. And neighbors were coming along and taking this memorial down, and these people were very threatening towards the elderly couple, saying, well, he didn't have to kill them. It was like, well, they didn't fucking have to be in his house, did they?
Man, that'd be a different story in Texas.
He was a good man who just wanted to feed his children. Well, then he could have got on a fucking job. He didn't have to ruin the lives of this elderly couple to feed his children. He could have done what every other law-abiding citizen does and get a fucking job.
Don't they have the dole in England? Can't welfare. You go on public welfare? So there's always money for food.
They were on welfare.
Okay, so
bearing in mind, this is a man that hasn't worked in 20 years.
Jesus, how do you even get to that point? But that's the problem with welfare states, and kind of an issue.
Oof.
And we're interesting thing that's about to happen. Yeah, I style myself as a libertarian, although I'm not really a very good libertarian because I don't.
Well, you're more of a classic liberal.
Yeah, more of a classic liberal. That's exactly right. But one of the things that I think the United States is going to have to consider, one of 2 things is going to happen in about 20 years. We're going to have many, many, many more working age people who will not have a chance to have a job.
Which
The
is why they keep
people who
talking
have
about
jobs,
things like UBI, but
well, that's where I'm going. Is the I'm probably the only libertarian in the United States who thinks UBI is a step that we're going to have to take. I'm not crazy about the idea, but the alternative is that in 20 years we're going to have an entire class of people who will have absolutely no chance of even applying for a job, much less
And
getting a job. It's
what
going to be
is
so
UBI?
completely
that's what I was,
out of kilter. The number of people and the number of jobs is going to be so different from one another that you've got to have a way to feed the people who don't have an opportunity to earn a living.
so
And so
to
you can
explain,
let them
because
starve.
Tally has no idea where we're at right now, Skev.
Yeah, what is
UBI
UBI?
is Universal Basic Income. That's also to explain to the audience. UBI is Universal Basic Income. It's the idea that for those people who don't have a job or who aren't able to work full shifts, like 40 hours a week in order to make enough money, the government provides you with a stipend that you just, you basically have an allowance.
To make the basics. Yeah, it gives you eats and sheets.
And while I think that maybe one day society will reach that point where, we've automated everything to the point where there aren't enough jobs to go around.
It absolutely is going to happen.
I don't think we're not there. I don't think we're close to that yet.
In about 20 years, believe me, there will be a substantial number of people who will absolutely have no chance at a job.
It might happen sooner if Democrats keep pushing this we need to raise minimum wage stuff, because the businesses will just go, okay, we got to pay everyone $15 an hour. We're just going to turn around and fire half of you, pay those half that we do have the $15 an hour, and replace the rest of you with computers.
One of the things that you will see, and this will happen within the next 10 years, is you will see essentially a people of color allowance. Now, this is something you have to be a little bit
pretty
careful.
much already said that's coming.
Well, yeah, and because people with white privilege have no need, because of the white privilege money that they receive, that they have no need of a basic income. But
when am I going to get my check for white privilege?
Well, you already got it. It's just your money is imaginary, but it still is. And the people who don't have imaginary money have to make do with real money, and so the government is going to give them real money in place of the imaginary money that they don't get. Okay.
Okay. So what can I spend this imaginary money on?
You can't. You get the imaginary money, so you can't have both. You understand that? Right. This makes perfect
so what can sense. Can I feed my son with this imaginary money?
You can imagine. You can imagine that you can. Yes, you can imagine, and you can imagine that he's not hungry after he imaginarily eats the imaginary food that you buy with the imaginary money. You're beginning to understand, I see. So but dead serious, there is going to be what amounts to what they call underrepresented or underprivileged or marginalized group income. It'll probably be called MGI, marginalized group income. And it will be, if you're a member of a marginalized group, you'll get a certain amount of money per month. Although if you're a member of what they call a majority group, you are a cis-het white male, for example, or a cis-het white woman, because of your privilege checks, you will not get any money because you're already getting money from your white privilege.
My problem.
That's really the way these people think. I tease about the way that I present it. I do it. I'm just using humor to make a point. But in point of fact, these people really believe that. And this is an example of what I was talking about, the oligarchy of thought being so completely out of touch with the day-to-day pressures that touch actual working people's lives.
They're just out of touch with the reality.
Well, yeah, that's
problem.
Said in a more general way.
It's not so much out of touch with what's going on in the lives of working class people. It's just being out of touch of reality.
Well, they live in a very different reality. Reality looks very different to them. And so they see things in
The
very
problem, I think, is
stylized and exaggerated ways.
one of the problems I see with the privilege argument is because I heard it presented one time as, you know, somebody presents this to a more social justice-y type who talks about, you know, white privilege and things like that, and it was like, okay, look, if you have a black man and a white man, who the black man they both work at the same place, the black man has a better job position at that workplace, he makes more money, has better hours, has a better home life, he has a better car, he has better this. But because of the way traffic is laid out, the black man lives here on the map and the white man lives here. There's a stop sign here that the black man has to stop at, and the white man can continue on down the straightaway to get to work just a couple minutes sooner. You know, so if you put those situations out like that, and you have, how is the black man still does the white man still have privilege over the black man, even though we've just examined their lives, and in every single way the black man has an advantage except for that one thing? And he said, well, yes, he has that privilege in that way. And what they're not, the thing is, so they're breaking this down.
Everyone has
and
that privilege.
no, let me
if
finish.
They lived in the opposite side, like
let me finish, Tally. The problem is they're taking something that's really minor and really a tiny ass thing and blowing it up to where it's much bigger and more, and it's really not that big of an importance. And then they're taking things that are really important, like calling someone a racist, which is pretty much, in my opinion, one of the top like 4 or 5 things you can say to a person that is super insulting, and taking that and making it something minor. Mm-hmm. Like they have this complete 180 reverse view on how things should be. Like little tiny things matter to them more, and big things don't matter to them as much. You throw around racist. Well, we're all a little racist just because you're white. You have a bias towards someone, and that's racism. No, it's not. Bias isn't racist.
No one is born racist. Racism is taught. And the way racism is taught is if you take... see, the way the university system is set up at the moment, where let's say you've got 2 people and they're both relatively equally intelligent, but then they go for their SATs. Let's say the white man gets a slightly higher score and they apply to go for the same university. Due to executive of what's it called? Executive action. What's it called?
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Thank you. Because of affirmative action, the white man will be rejected, but the black man will get a place. And then what you've done is you've taken a space that white man, who was slightly more suited to going to this university because of his higher score, was rejected that space in place of someone that might not necessarily be equipped for that position because they didn't get a high enough score. They had to get extra points because of skin color. And what happens then is you are telling someone that because of your skin color, you are not good enough, and that is making that person likely to be racist.
And it has real
consequences. Also, yes, and it does, and it negatively affects the black man as well, because he is in a school that, due to his lower score, he wasn't supposed to get into. And when you have people that aren't well suited to a school environment, a particular school or subject, because you're just giving them extra points because of their skin color, what you're doing is you are making it so that they are not equipped for that course.
Well, what you're missing,
doing that, they are more likely to drop out.
You're missing something, Tally, and that's the fact that all people are exactly the same qualified. Everyone has exactly the same intelligence. Every single person has exactly the same intelligence, aptitude, and ability as everyone else. That's why everyone has to have the same outcome, and everyone has to be paid the same salary regardless of what they do. So if you're an airline pilot or a janitor, They should make the same amount of money because the airline pilot would be just as good a janitor as the janitor, and the janitor would be just as good an airline pilot as the airline pilot. It's just the airline pilot, because of his whiteness and white privilege, got to go to airline pilot school, and the janitor, because of his minority status, had to go to minority janitor school. And that's the way the world works. The end.
Now, see, now that I know you were making a joke, but I fundamentally disagree. There are people who are objectively.
That's what your
better at
government.
certain
That is
things.
what your government believes.
Oh, I
That's what
know,
it
and my
says it
government is
believes.
full of morons.
Yes, it absolutely is, chock full to the brim.
Of
And
course it
it's
is.
not
They're
looking like it's going to
fucking
change
morons.
anytime soon anyway. Jeremy Corbyn is a blatant anti-Semite, and he gets what? Thrown out of his party for 2 weeks or something? Come on,
Something
man.
like that.
Seriously? What the fuck?
He says stuff like our friends in Hamas.
Our
It's like
friends in
that-
Hamas, that the thug criminals,
Fucking terrorists.
yes, to oppress their own people. Oh, fucking hateful
They
people.
use their own people as meat shields so that they
Yes.
can commit terroristic acts against Israel's civilians.
That's exactly right. That's, boy, you got the handle on that. It just absolutely infuriates me. The PLO or PLA and the Hamas are, friends of English labor, and I just don't understand that. And when I see Joe Biden cozying up to these guys, it just makes me crazy. We're going to
It annoys me.
make the same Obama mistakes again. By the way, guys, I'm going to have to go in about 5 minutes because I have another stream starting up. I told you about this earlier.
Yes, you did, and then we'll move on to some other kind of subject, but, I'm sure. Or maybe we'll
Yeah,
keep ranting about politics, who knows.
It's kind of a fun thing. What I love about this, I'm being a little bit older than you guys. This kind of an arrangement where I'm talking with somebody in the semi-southeastern part of the United States and somebody in England, and we just throw a call together and we sit around and talk as though we were in the living room together. This is magical. This is better than flying cars, which we were promised when I was a kid. Walt Disney was promising us flying cars in Future World, and
I mean,
that never
eventually
happened.
we will get there, but we're not
Oh,
late.
I think you're right. It may be superseded by the fact that we'll be going. You'll have a home spacecraft that you can travel on to other planets. As soon as we
Well, if
figure out
Elon Musk has anything to say about it, yeah, we
Oh,
can
yeah.
have that.
it's and the these are amazing times. When I
I mean,
was
if you
a
go
kid,
back
one
to
of
the 60s, there was a jet plane. It was ridiculously dangerous, but you could leave London and be in New York in about 2 or 3 hours.
you're
and-
talking about the Concorde.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a ridiculously fast plane, but it was really dangerous.
Well, it was not dangerous. The Concorde
they-
had a much better safety record than any other airliner. Really,
Hmm.
it only had the one crash ever, and that was
It
as-
was a major one, though.
Well, yeah, they lost the aircraft, but the reason that was so bad, that was actually a piece of debris that had been left on the tarmac from an earlier Continental Airlines jet that the French Concorde picked up, and when it was taking off, and
Didn't have a member of the
think
royal
maybe-
family on that plane, and that's why Concorde went out of business.
well,
Pretty
no,
sure there was a member of the royal family on that.
I don't know about that, but at any rate, interesting thing, I'll just share this with you since we're talking about transatlantic flights and the like. I flew across the Atlantic in 1959 on a propeller-driven aircraft.
See, this
There
is the shit I
were
wanted to
no-
get
there
into,
were-
but
Pardon me?
this is the shit I wanted to get into from you because you have a ton of cool stories to tell. You've done
Oh
so
yeah,
many things.
I can go on and on about you know what? I could they've got plenty of people on the Star Trek stream. I could blow that off and hang with you guys for a little bit longer.
Yes,
Would you?
tell us
Would
about
you?
your transatlantic flight, please.
Well, it was kind of interesting because we got to New Jersey. Remember, we stayed with my dad's sister lived near the airport, which was quite fortuitous. We had been living in Dayton, Ohio, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and we drove to New Jersey. We got there, and we played for a week with my cousins. And my dad said, "Okay, we're getting ready to go over and live in Belgium. You're going to live in Belgium for a few years." And we were like, "Okay, is that like here?" And he said, "Well, kind of. They speak a different language. It'll be okay." My dad is completely bilingual in French. My mother majored in French, and we actually spoke French somewhat at home. So, French was just like this weird part of English to me. I was,
Well,
what?
they both
I was
similar
7 years
roots.
old.
Both have similar roots.
Right. Well, at any rate, my point is that there wasn't a big differential between French and English. There were just these other words for certain concepts that happen to be French. So we fly over to Frankfurt, Germany, and it's on this big Lockheed Constellation Super G airliner with a triple tail. It was awesome. And it had the cabriolet style seats, so some of the seats were backwards, and there was a table between the two rows of seats, so it was like you were facing another group of people.
That
And
sounds cool.
it was a military air transport system plane, so it was actually a military flight flown by Air Force guys. And my dad knew the co-pilot; they were old buddies. And so I got to go up. This was while we were over the Atlantic. I got to go up and sit in the co-pilot's lap and control the airplane. He let me do a little aileron turn, to the left and to the right. And I could feel the heaviness of the plane. It was really an awesome thing for a little 7-year-old kid to do. Then we landed in the Azores in the middle of the Atlantic because we didn't have enough fuel to get all the way to Germany. And so we landed in the Azores. We refueled in the middle of the night. We took off again in the middle of the night. It was very cool. And landed in the early morning in Frankfurt, Germany. And then we took another plane, which I thought was even more amazing. I thought, I loving this flying stuff. And this was a 2-propeller plane that we took from there to Brussels, and we landed in Brussels, and then we lived for 4 months at a pension in downtown Brussels. And while they were finishing the townhouse that they were, well, it's not a townhouse, but it's like a duplex house that they were finishing out in Waterloo, which, if you're familiar with Waterloo and Napoleon, that was the place where Napoleon lost his final battle. This was the actual town. We were about 2 miles from the battlefield.
Waterloo.
Pardon me?
I'm familiar with Waterloo. I'm familiar with Waterloo.
This was about 2 miles. Our house was about 2 miles from the battlefield. And we went there, and I went out to play. And I met another little kid. But he didn't speak any English. He only spoke French. I came back in. I said, "Dad, the other little boys don't speak English." He said, "I know. On veut apprendre le français, n'est-ce pas?" And I said, "I guess so. I better learn French." And so that's
learn fast.
Yep, exactly right. And so we spoke a lot of French at home. Not entirely French, but we spoke a lot of French at home. Took it in school, and of course, I was surrounded by French-speaking people because there was no Air Force base in Belgium. The nearest Air Force base was in Wiesbaden, Germany. And so when we wanted to have something like American food, we had to go, which, as a little kid, that's what I wanted because that's what I was used to. If I wanted to have a normal hot dog that wasn't a sausage or, something, that we had to go to the Air Force base. And that happened about once every 3 months. So and there wasn't any television. So I concentrated on learning to read. And I said, Dad, I'm out of things to read. I read all my Hardy Boy books. And he said, well, have you finished reading the encyclopedia? And I said, the encyclopedia? No. He said, well, start reading that. Start with the A's. We had this big Encyclopedia Britannica, 24 volume set. And so I started with the A's. And in 3 years, I almost made it through the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. I was in the third, fourth, and sixth grade. 4 years, I guess it really took me to make it through. But by that time, I was pretty well read and had a lot of concepts in my little sixth grade head that when I came back to the United States, I spoke 2 languages, could write cursive, which none of the other little boys could when I came back, and knew the Encyclopedia Britannica when they had been watching Leave It to Beaver. So I kicked ass for a couple of years before I squandered my advantage, of course, by being lazy and being wretched. But it was an interesting time, and my dad was a very prominent engineer in the Air Force, and he actually has a PhD in they call it systems engineering. But if you really want to know what he did, it was what's called molecular thermodynamics. So very advanced engineering of heat transfer type stuff. Well, high math, extremely high applied math.
Well, it's not just engineering, that's physics as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of physics, lots of math, lots of engineering, just everything. And so he came back to the United States, and we went from Belgium, which has 220 days of rain a year, to Colorado Springs, which was the second sunniest city in the United States. Still is. It's just, and I just thought I had died and gone to heaven. We moved up in the Air Force Academy at an altitude of about 7,200 feet, and that was just some of the best living of my whole life. My best friend, while we lived on the academy, was the guy who would eventually become John Mellencamp's keyboardist, Eric Rosser, and he also became the first nonviolent felon on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. There's another great story.
What did he do?
His name is Eric Rosser, and he was a pedophile, a child sex trafficker, and he would lure children to be sold into sex slavery
Jesus
to
Christ.
Arab people.
Like, no fucking wonder he was on the 10 most wanted.
Yeah, this was Eric. Eric and I were best friends. We started the Douglas Valley Rock Hunting Club together when we were in the sixth grade at the Air Force Academy. So anyway. Make a long story short, Eric.
I can imagine you're not friends with him anymore.
Eric had the delightful thing of being spending a long term in U.S. jails and then getting extradited to Thailand, where he was selling children because they have no sense of humor about that. And he's enjoying their hospitality now for the rest of his life in a Thailand hellhole, with where he belongs. It's hard to believe that guy and I used to go trick or treating together and rock hunting and camping and all this other stuff that we did back in the day. So that's another interesting little anecdote. And we moved to Washington D.C. and my dad worked for a very interesting guy. He worked for the guy who invented the hydrogen bomb, Dr. Edward Teller. And Dr. Teller used to come over to our house, and he spoke in a thick, I think it was Hungarian accent. And I used to play and sing Tom Lehrer songs for him on the banjo and guitar. And he just thought it was so funny. He said, "Oh," he talked to my dad. He said, "Oh, Joe, your boy, he's so talented. He's going to be a success." Little did he know what a failure I'd be. But anyway,
that's not true.
You're not a
failure.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I'm a disappointment, but that's okay. It's hard to be the son of a prominent man.
Hey, Eve, I got somebody else needs to be spanked at Skep here.
Anyway, so but yeah, I confess I've had and interesting life. I, for some reason, have one of the interesting things that happened to me. Also, this is another cool story. When we lived at the Air Force Academy in Colorado, my father was tasked with shepherding one of the Gemini astronauts around the Air Force Academy. He'd come to speak to the cadets there, and Dad was his shepherd, basically, because Dad was prominent enough where he would feel comfortable with this guy. And this guy, his name was Ed White. He was the first American to walk in space, and he was also one of the 3 astronauts who would be killed in Apollo 1 in the fire that took their lives. But anyway, he was visiting the Air Force Academy. My dad didn't tell me about that. He just said, "Hey, Frank, I'm going into work today. Come with me, bud." I remember he said it just like that, and I thought, oh, great, we're going to Dad's office, and I have to hang with Dad while he works in his office, and there's nothing to do. It's going to be fabulous.
You were a kid, and just like, oh,
because I was a kid, and I wanted to go out
boring.
and play with Aaron. Yeah. So we get to the office, and this big smiling guy, tall, relatively tall guy, 6 feet tall guy comes up. He kind of looks like a athletic, very trim, big smiling face, blondish hair. And my dad said, "Ed, I'd like you to meet my son." And I realized at that moment it was Ed White. This was the man who had walked in space. I don't know, was it 6 months before or something like that? This guy had been in space, and I was just absolutely transfixed by that idea. And I got to shake his hand, and my dad left him alone with me for like 15 minutes while Dad went off to do something. And he said, "Hey, can you guys wait here for a minute?" And sure. And Ed White, he was just the nicest guy in the world. Frank and I will be fine right here, Joe. You go on, And Dad left us alone, and I just pestered him with question after question after question. And he was really a great guy. He asked me what kind of an engineer I wanted to be. I remember I shook his hand, and he was dead 6 months later.
Jesus, it's fucking trippy, man. Like,
yeah,
you've had a crazy life and met some really interesting people.
You see yourself as a disappointment and a failure, and I would argue the opposite. I would argue that mistakes don't equal failure, nor do they equal disappointing.
Provided you learn from them, no.
Because there are plenty of people.
All the white privilege I had, you'd think I would have done something great.
You were clouded by delusions of grandeur. So
it's a funny thing, white privilege. I'll tell you another story. And this one doesn't star me, but this is about affirmative action, which Tally had brought up earlier, and I think it's a very interesting thing because the point that Tally made was that there's a very real cost, and there is a very real cost. I'm going to tell you a story about this that happened at University of California, Davis Medical School. It's actually a very famous case in Supreme Court history. It's called the Bakke decision. A man by the name of Stephen Bakke, who was straight A student, 800s on his med boards, perfect candidate for medical school, but he was a white male. Was turned down for admission because his spot in the spot he would have had in a med school class was taken up by a black man who had substantially lower grades, was the last person admitted in the class academically, the lowest person admitted in the class academically, and had to be tutored and nurtured all the way through medical school. Finally graduated, on like the 6-year plan. And but he was a black guy, so they wanted him to get through med school at all costs. So no expense was spared. He made it through medical school. By the way, Bakke got into medical school the next year as a result of the Supreme Court decision saying that he was discriminated against, and he was discriminated against, and became a very successful anesthesiologist himself. The man who made it through medical school became a gynecologist in Los Angeles until they finally took his license away after he killed his 19th woman through botched surgery. He had so many malpractice claims against him, and he was there just basically doing horrifying malpractice, writing drugs for his friends, and just, was a complete mess. So you got to be careful who you let into medical school. And the thesis that all people are of equal capability, equal talent, equal this, equal that.
Some people are just
This idea of equity.
Like, I
That's
will
right.
never.
There's
I
no
would
such
never
thing as
say that
equity.
someone. I would never say that someone is better than someone else based on skin color. However, there are people that, when it comes to certain things, are just objectively better. Like
I won't-
there
Well,
are
sure.
people that are just objectively better at
Well,
being an athlete.
It's
There are people that are just objectively better at being doctors, and that case proves it.
it's
It's
like
it's exactly right.
it's like my friend always says, I'm not racist, I'm an elitist. I hate everyone equally. You're all lesser than me. It's not
kind
not
of
about
kind of
race
an
or anything
egalitarian point
else.
of view.
And that's the thing I keep telling people about Trump. I said Trump's not a racist. He's an elitist. He literally thinks he's just better than everybody. He's an asshole. That's not
Of
that's
course
not
he's an
racism.
asshole. Have you ever met a nice businessman? Like sometimes they are like I'm bugging out here.
No, you're fine. You're
Anyway.
fine on our end.
All right. So sometimes people like they can sometimes be respectful, but businessmen are assholes. Like in business, and I've said this before, you do not have friends. In business, you have rivals who you have a mutually benefit relationship with.
You're
And
not wrong.
provided that benefit, that relationship remains mutually beneficial, you will remain friendly with each other. But you will always be trying to outdo each other and get the best out of the deal while giving the other person less.
And I can explain.
That's how business works.
I'll explain to you why it works that way. Because the market is not a moral force. The market simply recognizes value. The market is the clearinghouse where supply meets demand of anything, of products, goods, and services. Supply meets demand at the market, and the market has no moral aspect to it. The market just recognizes value for value. It's an exchange. It's a place where things get exchanged. It has no more moral force than a telephone line does. A telephone line is a place where information is exchanged. A market is a place where value is exchanged. That's all it does. And when people come in and they say the market should be a moral place, we're going to put these artificial forces in a market, okay, to make it do what we want it to make it look like we want it to look, to make society feel and look like what we want it to feel and look like. You introduce inefficiencies into the market, and that's the thing that makes a market special. Is it is the most efficient place for supply to meet demand. When you introduce inefficiencies, when you introduce other forces into that, you start to break the beauty of the mechanism of the market. And it always results in lowered value on both sides. Always.
Of course it does. Which is why when they try, wherever they do that, there's catastrophic failure. Like, take for instance, the Hong Kong. Hong Kong has up until, or was it Taiwan? One of them is built. It's an island with zero natural resources. The only resource there is the people themselves. And because of the open free market, they have built a very successful little area that is essentially on a rock.
Yeah, you're really talking about Hong Kong, although Taiwan has some aspects of it. There's some aspects of Taiwan that are like that, but Taiwan's a little more complicated story. Yeah. Hong Kong is what you're talking about, where you just through the simple brilliance of the people who live there and their efficiency in making markets is what has made them
that is the beauty of the free market. That is the beauty of a free open market. But then you've got places like Venezuela, massive swathes of natural resources,
Right.
oil, natural gas, huge amount of natural resources that are
Right.
just there for the taking.
Right.
If they had a free open market, they would be among the wealthiest countries in the world.
They
But
would be,
due to
just based on their oil
basically
reserves, they
doing
would be the most wealthy country in South America.
yeah, but because of what you were saying about a minute ago, the people are starving.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they essentially took a lot of the country's wealth, and it went up the noses of the political elites there and their friends. They said, "Hey, we've got all this money. We've got this great oil infrastructure that the big American and European countries have built for us. Now we're just gonna take it over and insinuate the government into this." And they didn't take care of their oil infrastructure. The oil infrastructure is so bad now that it actually has damaged the quality of the crude that comes out of Venezuela.
Yeah, because they've got
And
people
they
in
cannot
charge that
sell
don't
it.
know what they're doing.
They can't sell that crude at the old price they used to sell it at. They have to sell it at about 60% of the price that they used to get per barrel. So they cut their own income by 40%. 40% off the top. Think about that. That's almost cutting in half their oil revenues just because they didn't maintain the pipes through which it flows and the tanks in
Well,
which
that's
it's
because
stored.
they had people that didn't know what they were doing put
That's
in charge of
exactly-
these
that's
industries
exactly right.
instead of the people that knew what they were doing who were in charge of it before.
Quite right. Quite right.
They basically got rid of the people that knew what they were doing and said, right, our friend here is going to take over
Yeah.
because he might
And-
not know about the industry, but
But
he's
Rico
a
was snorting
political
cocaine
buddy.
all day, and instead of doing his job, which he didn't know how to do in the first place, and Rico got good and high, and then eventually drank some liquid courage one night, blew his brains out. But the oil pipelines did not get maintained. The tanks did not get maintained. The quality of the crude declined, and so what little bit they are still able to produce, and that's the other thing, is their ability to produce oil has been damaged to the point where they are a pauper nation, and it's getting worse. Although I understand the recipes for dog and long pig that are coming out of there are just superb. It's just
Scab.
really exquisite.
Well,
Spank you.
Mexico has similar issues when it comes to corruption because with you go to places like Cancun, they
Yeah.
have a massive amount, what's it called, vacation, holiday resorts and all that sort of thing. A massive industry of all of that.
Yeah.
Hospitality and all that sort of thing. And based on that, if they managed it properly and they didn't have the corruption, they would have so much money because Mexico is a beautiful place. My sister went there on her honeymoon. She said it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But
I've been to Cancun.
due to the corruption and the mismanagement, most of the people are living in poverty. They've got cartels running amok. Like they talk about American police being militarized. Bitch, you haven't seen militarized until you've seen the Mexican police. They are literally driving around in armored Humvees with guns mounted on top.
Yeah, and they're still outgunned by the cartel guys.
Exactly.
They're way outgunned by them. So yeah, this is what Joe Biden wants for the United States. He wants that same kind of country, and he's bound and determined to build that. Yay us!
Where the only people that actually have a decent life are the criminals right at the top of the politicians.
Yeah, and even their life isn't great. You know,
the politicians have got all the money. that are coming from the taxes. The cartels are running amok and making money off drugs that they're funneling in through the human trafficking and all that sort of thing. The number of women who are raped trying to cross the border from Mexico into America is staggering. Human trafficking, all of this awful stuff, all coming out of Mexico. And the reason for it is the corruption.
Interestingly, and enough though, when Joe Biden was inaugurated, all that stopped. AOC evidently rescued all of the people down there, and all of the bad things came to an end because you can't read about any of that stuff in CNN anymore.
Well, there's no they say no, instead of saying about what it is, kids in cages. Now they're calling them this
Overflow facilities.
Yeah.
Overflow facilities. Yes, exactly. And love
It's
camps.
well, it's like you're supposed to separate the children from the people that they come into the country with, because
Right.
there's no guarantee that these people are actually the parents of the kids. They could be using those kids as a passport to try and get into the country easier. And
Right.
kids are being kidnapped in Mexico so that people can use them to gain access, which is why they have to DNA test all of these children with the people that they come in with. But they completely ignore that.
No doubt about it. No
Like
doubt
so
about it.
many women, when they deciding they're going to illegally cross the border from Mexico into America, they go on birth control so that if they do get raped, they don't get pregnant. Because what is it, like 70, more than 70% of them get raped during that journey.
Yeah, it's probably
It's
a lot higher than that, actually.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Last time I saw the numbers, it was above 70%. It was
Those-
like
It's
79%
pretty
or
hard.
something.
It's pretty hard to count that sort of thing. I wouldn't take
It
anything.
really is, because a lot of them won't
They're not going to
report
report.
as well.
Exactly. They're scared to death. So, it's
Well,
probably.
yeah, and if they go to the police and report it, they're likely to get deported anyway.
Yeah.
So it is
Or
very
killed.
it'll be a lot higher than it's actually being reported. And I want to stop these illegal crossings from Mexico into America because I want to protect those women from going through that.
Mm-hmm. 1 sec. I'm gonna
They
have
just
to.
want a better life.
Mm-hmm.
They do just want a better life, and the best way to give them a better life is to improve the situation in Mexico. Don't have them do these dangerous crossings where they are likely to get raped or killed or have horrible things happen to them, because that is not. Then they're in America, but then they've got this awful traumatic experience that they've gone through in order to get there.
The thing of it is that the ones who make it through this horrifying meat grinder, almost to a person, will become Democrat voters. And so the Democrat administration right now in the United States says, no, we want as many of these people to come in as possible because this is how we can turn Texas from a red state into a blue state. They're a Republican state now, we can turn them into a Democrat state and we'll never lose another major election again. And that's exactly what they want to do.
Yep. There's
They
a
believe
city
that-
that's right on the southern border. I think it's in Arizona. It's
Yeah.
right on the border.
Yeah.
And they had a big issue in that city with crime. It might be a town, actually. But they had a massive issue with murder and drugs and human trafficking and rape and all this sort of thing in that town. So they built a massive border fence that spread about 50 miles either side of the city. It might actually be about 20 miles either side of the city. And just in doing that, they dropped the crime rate in that one area by.
You're talking about
90%.
El Paso, Texas, actually, is the city that you're talking about. Right,
Yeah,
right,
they
Texas
dropped the
is-
crime rate by about 90%.
Yeah, they did. It dramatically fell. I actually dated the granddaughter of the mayor of El Paso. briefly.
Yeah.
We just went out. We went to a couple movies together. Was not a big romance or anything like that. It was just somebody to pal around with. Many years ago.
Wow.
Many years ago, but that was her. Unfortunately, that was also the most interesting thing about her. She's a really boring person, and I quickly recognized there was no future in it, and announced
That's
that she
the
was.
issue with very important people. A lot of them are not very.
It was one of the few times in my life where I put somebody in the friend zone. Was not put in the friend zone myself, but I put somebody else in the friend zone.
Well, that's like I said, that's the issue
That's the
with very
decent thing to
important
do.
people.
Yeah.
They are not very interesting.
Sometimes God, you're so right. You just I kept because she was really good looking. I kept hoping there'd be something there, and then I realized there's nothing to talk about. There's no there.
Well,
Yep.
I've
At
been
least
to
you
a few.
caught that early.
See,
Yeah.
my father was a relatively successful business. Well, he was a very successful businessman down in
Uh
Cornwall.
huh.
That business is still going. It's now run by my brother because my father's now retired. He's in his 70s. But so because of his success, he would get invited to all of these different galas, and I've been to a couple of them with him. And I've met some very rich and important people going through that.
They're
And
fascinating, aren't they?
oh, they're so dull. Oh my God, it was so much more interesting to get drunk with the commoners.
Oh, it is.
At least they
absolutely.
had something to say.
I would rather hang with the guys who park the cars of the rich people than the rich people.
Oh, I know,
Absolutely would
right?
every single
You
time.
know what? My dad got so comfortable with these people that
Mhm.
he's met Prince Charles and all of the
Oh, okay.
several of the royals several times, and he would actually go up and introduce himself to Prince Charles, and it's like, "All right, Charlie." It's like,
Charlie.
"Daddy, you can't." Yeah, yeah. He actually called Prince Charles Charlie.
Wow,
Just
unusual.
talking to him like he's anyone else. And it's just like, Daddy, you can't speak to him like that. It's like, why not? He's just a man. And you know what? For that reason, Prince Charles took a massive shining to my dad because he
Oh, of
did
course
just
he
treat
did.
him like a human being. And you know what?
Yeah.
I learned very quickly. Prince Charles, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he is one of those people. He will say what he thinks, and he thinks exactly what he says. He couldn't give a shit. And
Yeah.
because everyone else is tiptoeing around him on eggshells, but then you've got my dad, who's like, yeah, he was wealthy, but he was common as hell. Just going, all right, Charlie. Like, for that reason, Charles liked him.
Charles probably enjoyed that. You know, he probably felt like he was dealing with somebody who's quite honest.
Well, yeah. See, my dad, he's an asshole being a businessman, but he is brutally honest.
Yeah.
And him and he's got a mindset that's very much like Trump because they are both businessmen. Trump just happens to be more successful in the fact that he will say exactly what he has on his mind, and he is brutally honest about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
And apparently certain royals found that quite refreshing. Have someone just say to them exactly what they think.
I mean, sometimes that actually does happen. I mean, we have that concept in movies and stuff where it's like the royal never has anybody speak to them like a normal person. So the first time a person does, they're just like, "Hey, I like you," you know. But that's not, it's not that far from the truth. Sometimes they just like to be treated like a person instead of having everybody treat them like their position,
I agree.
Well, they are just people, and sometimes it is nice to just be treated like a person instead of like your title.
No doubt about it.
Having that is the reason why court jesters was such a big thing in the royals back in the day. It would keep the royals like they would speak truth to power and do it in a funny way, and they were the only people that could get away with doing so, and it kept the royals honest, so to speak.
The court fool.
Yeah, knock them down a peg and be like, that was really dumb as fuck, right? Here, I'm finna make fun of you. Just because
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
really stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they that would have been an interesting position to be in.
That's how I keep Tally
Uh,
humble. I just make fun of her all the time.
Well, there is a fine line because there were jesters that went too far and they ended up getting boiled in oil.
Yes,
So you did have to walk that fine line.
that's exactly
but-
right.
So you couldn't say things that were outlandishly disrespectful, but you could say to them, that's a stupid fucking thing to do, right?
Hey guys, I hate to say it, but I should bounce over to the other stream and go speak with
We've gone
my
for-
friends who also invited me over there. But I did want to hang out with you guys for a while, tell stories, and also just it's just great to spend time with you guys. And I appreciate you inviting me over here. Appreciate you guys in chat
Thank you
coming
for
over
hanging
to
out.
watch us, and maybe you'll invite me back sometime. I'd love to come back
Of course.
and give you chapter 2.
We would
Thank you for
love
hanging
to
out with
hear more
us.
of your stories.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys are wonderful. You guys take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sweetie.
They're
Thank you for coming,
speaking
Scap.
They're speaking of weird language that I have no
They're
idea what
speaking
they're
French.
talking of.
They're speaking French too.
Oh, okay.
Ils sont là
Okay,
pour
that-
français. À bientôt, mes amis.
I don't speak.
They've been
I-
talking
I
about it
don't-
ever since Skep said something about, speaking French. They've been talking about it off and on, so they're just throwing out French phrases.
Speak some Cornish to them. See how they like that. All right, guys. I gotta go.
I
I'll
can't
talk to you
actually speak
soon.
Cornish. No one
Bye-
can speak
bye,
Cornish
Skep.
anymore.
All right,
See
we'll see
ya.
you guys. Bye bye.
I don't speak French. I don't speak surrender.
Damn it. So guys, if you want to check out Mr. Skeptalk's content, if you like him, he's on Minions of the Zoo like every other night, pretty much. That's linked in the description. It's also his YouTube channel that he puts up videos on occasionally, as well as his Twitter. Dude's got he's like one of the smartest people I know as far as Twitter marketing goes, because he's got like 15, maybe even more than that. I was gonna say 15,000 followers, but I think it's like more than that.
Wow.
I think he's way past that now. Sorry, 13,000 followers. So,
How?
well, I'll let you figure that out. But
Well, see, I've got a shitload of ethos started to follow me. It's like, why? Like, I've got so many.
these talent,
I-
they're like, oh, a
I-
fellow ethot.
I've got so many women that have I look at these Twitter profiles of women that have started following me, and they've all got OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of women on Twitter seem to have OnlyFans now, but
Hey,
But yeah.
you know what? I'm not opposed to OnlyFans. Like, you do you, if that's what you want to do. If I was to set up an OnlyFans, it would literally be stuff like cosplays.
mhm.
And I don't even mean like scantily clad cosplays or like where you'd like show off everything. It would be more well, it'd be quite conservative compared to what a lot of these women do on OnlyFans.
Mhm.
I might go suggestive.
I would still think that maybe sometime in this new year we need to make a S&M
Yeah.
OnlyFans to where it's like, if you want to see sexy pictures of Eve and Tally, no nudes, but sexy pictures of Eve and Tally, you can
It would be
sign up
safe
on
for
our
work.
OnlyFans. Yeah.
Suggestive, but safe for work.
But yeah, no, what was I going to say? Yeah, definitely go check out Skep Stuff. Give him a follow on Twitter. Give him a subscribe over there on the either on the Minions or on his YouTube channel, his personal YouTube channel, or both. So
Oh, he
He's good
is
people.
a smart cookie, and he's got a lot of interesting stories.
he's got so many
and I am
interesting stories.
looking
That's why I
forward
wanted
to
to
hearing more of
transition
them.
from the politics, because he talks about politics a lot. When he transitions to actually telling a story, and you hear him say something, you're like, "What the fuck? You did that? What the fuck? You've been there?" Like, that was just a small snippet of the things
Like
that
the
he's done in his
fact
life.
that he was childhood friends with the guy that turned out to be on the America's Most Wanted top 10 list for
Right?
like that crazy shit.
It's like you never know. You never know
Like,
who someone will
what
turn out to
the
be.
fuck?
Check she doesn't speak surrender.
True. No, I really
Check's
don't.
adding you a tally. It says tally to est trespel. Says you are very. I think it says you are very beautiful.
Ah, thank you.
And I don't know the rest of the part. Something about chocolate for St. Valentine's Day. I could run it through Google Translate real quick.
I can't have any more chocolate. I've got so much chocolate.
You ain't getting no chocolate from me, bitch. I mean, you are very beautiful, and I would like to give you chocolate for Valentine's Day. Oh,
Ah, I've got so much chocolate. I've got 2 of these boxes.
you fucking whore.
I like. Are you jealous? Are you jealous?
No.
Oh, like.
Oh my god. Guys, I would like to point out that in 1, 2, 3 weeks, we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary of S&M.
Hey.
Jesus, it's just coming up so fast, and it's been such
I
a wild, crazy
know.
ride.
Hasn't it?
I know we've had some hiccups here and there. We've missed some streams, but you know, at the same time, we've stuck with it, and it's come out good.
Yeah,
We've
last week my immune system just said, fuck you.
had some timing issues, as Eve has incessantly teased me over. Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah,
And
there has been actually quite a few times that over the past year where my immune system has just gone, yeah, fuck you. And I've been really ill.
mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know what was wrong. I was just really ill. And it's been the same thing every single time. Just my immune system just decided to give up. So I've been really ill, and that's what was wrong with last week.
I'm sorry.
I
sweetie.
didn't even play D&D on Friday. I was that ill.
That's how I knew you were really sick, was when you were like, I haven't even played D&D, and I was like, oh fuck, she must really be sick, because she loves D&D. It's like her favorite thing.
It is. It really
this,
is.
This bitch is a fucking nerd, if you couldn't tell.
Oh, I love D&D. Like, the Friday game has now been put on hold for the next 3 weeks because our DM's got personal issues, and he hasn't gone into it any more than that. But
Yeah.
we've got a couple short Friday Sunday night games going on now to replace it, and I'm gonna be a sorceress in those, a sorceress tiefling, and I'm so excited. We're starting at level 6, and it's great.
It sounds like these when I wonder if I should get drunk or maybe just a psychological sugar high. See, I find that the most entertaining thing, before I would actually actively started drinking, with friends and stuff like that, I would instead just get myself a lot of candy and eat that while they're drinking, and it has pretty much the same effect. I get all just bouncy and energetic, and my blood sugar is skyrocketed like theirs is, you know. Slightly less inebriated. If I need to like calm down and be responsive in an emergency situation, I still can. They'll have a lot more trouble. So
there is still a responsible adult in the room.
Mm-hmm. But I'm still having fun. So
yeah. See, if I'm drinking, I only tend to have 1 or 2 drinks, and then a couple of weeks ago, I drank almost an entire bottle of gin.
Oh my god, Tally.
But it wasn't regular gin though.
Wasn't it?
It was gin liqueur.
Uh-huh.
Baked apple and salted caramel flavor, and it was delicious, and I was drinking that stuff straight from the bottle, and it was delicious, and I might have to buy another bottle.
Do you guys smell that? It smells like bullshit.
What? What am I bullshitting?
You know, I'm just teasing you.
Like, if I reckon for our anniversary for a year on
We should get some
YouTube.
wine or something to drink.
Oh, definitely.
What should we do for the
Oh.
anniversary? Let's plan the anniversary.
Yeah, let's. What does everyone think we should do for our anniversary?
Also, we need to figure out when we're doing another short and sweet because it's been since August when we did the first one.
Yes, it has.
And I've been meaning to get put this together, but I haven't found a subject that it's like has caught my attention and been like, I want to talk about this, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I haven't either. Although I think I found one. I tweeted about it today, actually.
Did I see
You
that?
liked it. You did. You hearted it. It's the gun thing that I tweeted about earlier.
Gun thing. Oh, I meant to actually watch that video so we could talk about it today, but I didn't end up doing so. You know how you get when you get tipsy, and Tally with Tally on stream with you. Look, I can behave because I'm on stream. I totally won't just be like, "Hey Tally, how are you, sweetie? Looking real good." You know, I can control my thirst. Thank you very much. Even
Not
tipsy.
very well, but she can.
No, even tipsy, I can control it. You know, I just usually don't, because what's the point of drinking and being horny if I'm controlling it? There's no point. I mean, what is the point of drinking the alcohol and making myself all frisky if I'm not gonna just be a horny little slut for a bit? So.
Well, you know what? I think we should definitely do a drunk thing for
Oh
our
God.
anniversary.
I don't know about drunk, but have a
Maybe
beer.
have a couple of drinks. Maybe
Yeah.
get a few people on instead of just one. Make it a little bit of a party. I think it'll be great.
I'm being fussed. I'm being like doubted in this chat here. Like Snow sitting here giving me dots. Pat saying no, you can't. You're saying, you know, I choose not to. Bet.
I believe in you, Eve.
Bet I'm gonna after this stream. I'm gonna go chug like 2 beers and not be horny. Bet. Because like I said, what's the point of doing it? Actually, you know, I don't even want to waste beer on that.
Really? I've got a few straggler hairs that I missed when I cut them. Yeah.
But so you can do it. I can do it. That's my point. It's like, but usually when I'm drinking, it's like I'm doing it because I have no intention of, you know, controlling my inhibitions. I'm coming in
like
oiled
I
and
said,
shirtless then. Oh my.
We
Oh my.
we don't have to drink a
Patrick,
lot.
Oh no. Don't do that, Patrick. We'll just get too excited.
We don't have to drink a lot. Just have a drink and have a little party while streaming it.
We haven't done
Have a little
done
bit of
costumes
celebration.
since
No,
Christmas.
we haven't. Oh.
And before that was like what, Halloween was the last time we did costumes?
Yeah, I know, right?
So we need to get some themes together and do some themes. We need to get we got lots of planning to do, kids. We have lots of things planned.
Yeah, we do.
Sorry about that. Somebody racing by with their fucking truck.
Like, let's not even set a theme for that one. We'll just have a few people, like 4 or 5 people.
Also, I got my Stream Deck set up now, so for this, so I can change scenes, and you know, it should work. Did that work? I don't know if that worked.
You
Tally robot out there. Did that work? That worked. Tally? Tally, don't leave. Hello?
What?
I can hear you.
Oh, I was trying to see the scenes, but it didn't work.
Oh, that's why you roboted out. Yeah, no, I was just like, I can press buttons and now on my phone and swap things easier. That's what I was doing while y'all were talking, because I can, do two things at once.
Yeah.
Tally, whatever you got,
Yeah,
close it.
you can. I can. It's YouTube. I'm trying to see the scenes.
It
that you're
roboted
doing.
you to hell. I'll show you afterwards on Discord.
Okay.
Yeah. Cat girl for costume party. Ooh. I could do a cat girl. You wanna do a cat girl?
Yes.
We could do Neckos. Little Necco cat girls. Look, Tally's already prepped. Look at this.
Not even putting it on my head properly.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, that would be fun. What are y'all... Does it count if I do it once in different languages? Never apologize more than once. It's a turnoff. Sometimes you shouldn't.
Never apologize. It's a sign of weakness.
Well, I don't know about that, but sometimes you shouldn't apologize at all. But you really need to be. I find a lot of us apologize more than we should. I know I sure as hell do. So.
Oh, you really do.
Yeah, and I'll be like, I've had to really work on that, especially this past year, of just being like, oh, well, my apologies, or I'm sorry, and just leaving it there. Or sometimes being like, I'll give you I see. I'll give you a perfect example. When Jack Gunsky asks me if I can be on his show, and I am busy or whatever, there's no reason for me to apologize in that situation, because it's not like, I've done something to offend him. I'm just telling him I'm not available. But we have this instinct in our language, in our way of talking, just be like, sorry, blah, 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 Instead, I have to kind of go, no, I can't do that, and avoid saying sorry all the time for things that don't really have any reason to be sorry for,
Well, it's relatively polite enough to just say, I just can't. It's not good for me. And like me saying that, I instinctively want to say sorry at the end of it. So I get what you're talking about.
Because you're turning down someone's proposal or rejecting their offer or invitation, and you feel bad, but you really shouldn't. I mean, it's like you have nothing to feel bad for. It's just like, hey, things didn't work out.
You do feel guilty for turning down the invitation, but you have no reason to, and it's just instinctive.
And Jack says because an apology is also used in a conciliatory sense, right? But like Tally said, it's an instinctive thing. You don't really think about how we're using it, and so I think a lot of times we need to
when you don't have a reason to.
Like, seriously, all of you, do this experiment like throughout the next week, without really having to change your speech patterns, but pay attention to how many times you say sorry or apologize for something in a daily basis.
You're giving them homework
really
now?
Well, I mean, just think about it. Just think about your, and you don't have to do it, but like, I think it would be a cool experiment to sit there and kind of think about it and pay attention to how, when you talk during the week, and
I was talking to someone
at work
earlier,
or talking to your friends or whatever, and you just kind of go sorry, or my bad, or I apologize, and it's like, saying I'm sorry for your loss is different though, Jack.
Well, yeah, but earlier today, someone told me I was cute, and I said, no, I'm not. And he scolded me for saying it, and I instinctively apologized for saying I'm not.
Right. And, a lot of us just kind of do that without thinking about it, even though we have nothing to be sorry for,
Like, it wasn't even a major scolding. He was just like, no, you are. Stop it. And I was just like, sorry. And I have no reason to be sorry for that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I am.
Sorry, my email thing popped up in the middle of it. Sorry, I'm Canadian. It's in my DNA. Yeah, fair.
There she is twice. She apologized twice.
No, I was saying, oh, you're right. I did it. I apologize. There's nothing to apologize for. My screen popped up bright, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was just an instinct. I read off Rick's. He says, "Sorry, I'm Canadian. It's in my DNA." So that was not me apologizing. That was him. But yeah, just think about it. Like as an exercise, pay attention to how many times you say it, and then you go, "Huh." You know, just look at those things and say, did I really do anything wrong there? Do I really, was there really a need for me to use that word or to apologize in that situation? Like, there are definitely times of like, oh, like today, I was talking to my yoga teacher, and her brother-in-law was just in a really bad accident. Like, he was hit by a drunk driver last night. He's having to have surgery
Oh, is
today.
he okay?
It's bad. It's really bad. But for me to look at her in that situation and go, oh, I'm so sorry, that happened. I'm using the phrase sorry in the sense of,
I feel bad for you.
yeah, empathetically, not apologizing for anything I've done, but I am empathetic towards you, and I hate that happened to you.
Well, it's more of a fact of I hate that happened to your family.
Yeah,
rather
exactly.
than to you.
Yeah. I'm a perfectionist, and I was told I did stuff wrong when I really didn't. It's just natural for me to apologize, even after I'm told I don't have to. I'm the same way. I was raised in a very perfectionist household, that everything I had to do had to be just right, just right. If it wasn't good enough, I was going to have to do it again, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I have this sense of, one, everything I do, I like to do right the first time. I have to really get over that thing of like, when you're learning a new skill, you're going to fail at it a lot. And
the best
really
thing about doing something right the first time is it leaves more time to do stuff you want to do later.
Right, there's that, but it's also the thing of, like I said, for the longest time it was in my head that I had to do it right, because if I didn't do it right, there was something wrong with me, or I just wasn't good at it, and I was never going to be good at it, and I just needed to set it aside. There was no room for practice, and I put part of that on my dad, part of that on myself, part of it on my mom. It was part of it from my family, and a lot of my own expectations of myself. So, like Czech said, I apologized for a lot of things. I was like, I'm sorry, I failed, I screwed this up, and it's like, you just didn't get it right the first time. It's okay, You're learning how to dig a foundation for a house. You're learning how to build a wall. You're learning how to do electrical wiring. You're not gonna be perfect at it. These are skills that people go to school and learn how to, take years to learn how to do properly and how to do these kind of things. You said you noticed something?
Well, I've noticed something. I think it was either last year or the year before, there was that big push from feminists about how women apologize too much when they don't have to. It's like, but it's not just women.
Mm-hmm.
Men do it too. Like, it's just like we instinctively apologize for things that we don't have to apologize for. And it's not just a female thing, it's a human thing.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely a human thing. And there are some times when people are just, they need to say sorry. Like, all they need to just say in a situation is, hey, I'm sorry. That's it. Now I want to see Eve in an American-themed bikini. Jack, I don't normally do this on stream. I like to normally keep the focus on both me and Tally, but I'm going to do this.
Wait, what are you doing?
glaring at Jack for his thirst. I have anxiety, which leans me to have a perfectionist-like stuff, so I'm sorry that I couldn't finish a task. I'm seeing myself glaring at Jack. And all this stuff because I was doing other stuff and I was trying to... Yeah, right, exactly. You overwhelm yourself with the anxiety of it when it's not really necessary to do so. And it's okay, you know?
But
She's
yeah,
giving me the
it's
evil
human
eye.
nature. And in those situations, I would say don't apologize. It's a sign of weakness.
Raziel makes a fair point. No one should ever say sorry for any reason unless they're actually sorry. Well, it's like, you know, Rebecca said up there at the top and just above you. You feel guilty for things that you were outside, either A, outside of your control, or B, were things that, you know, couldn't be helped and you weren't doing anything wrong, but it feels like you did something wrong because you have this perfectionist expectation of yourself. And you're like, I should be better. But it's like, should you? You should only be as good as you're A, ready for, and B, you know, as good as you are. I mean, if you're not perfect, that's okay. Nobody is. We all have our flaws. I mean, I have a couple, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly perfect, though. But
Yes, you are.
don't feed my ego, Tally. But one of them being, it's just one of my flaws is I'm just so goddamn humble all the time.
Yes. Yes, of course. So very humble.
Anyways, with that, Miss Toledo, do you have anything else you'd like to add tonight?
I got a new phone, and now I've got a phone that's not having shit, and it's great because it doesn't crash every time I fuck up.
Yay!
Yay! It's great. It's great. I love it. I was so sick of every time I tried to every time I was trying to type out a message, my screen would just crash and my keypad wouldn't work, and it was driving me crazy. And it's not even a new phone. Like, what's the Galaxy on now? The Note 10? It's a Note 4. So it's an old one.
Jesus.
But I never buy an up-to-date phone. I always get an older model.
I bought my iPhone 11 back end of 2019 when it had just come out.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I made the investment because then I won't have to upgrade for a while. I can just sit on this and it'll be pretty damn up to date. And then
well, this one when I got it second hand, and it's a Galaxy J5 or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like
Later, Rick.
ancient when I got it, but it lasted me 2 years.
It's pretty nice. So, with that, I have two things. One, Miss Toledo.
Yes.
Finger. Oh, there we go. Anyway, that's one. And number two, thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to our wonderful guest, Mr. Skeptalk, for coming on. Like I said, you can find him at the links below. Minions of the Zoo, his own personal YouTube channel, and on his Twitter. Go over and give him a follow. Subscribe to those channels. He's a really great guy. He's got a lot of cool stories. Really sweet-natured guy. He's one of the people that I went to MythCon with a couple of years back, and has been one of the people who's very instrumental in building my confidence to be myself, to come out, to live my life as I am, him and a bunch of the other minions. Almost all the minions, you know.
And we are so glad you did.
I know, yeah. I wouldn't be here today if not for people like Skev in my life. So,
Well, it made your life better.
Mhm. And I'd like to thank my lovely co-host, Miss Talita Constantine. Should also
Thank
go
you.
follow her on Twitter. She's got links below. She says and does interesting things on there. Occasionally posts cute pictures of herself.
I rarely put stuff on Twitter. I'm thinking I've started doing my nails like every single week.
Mhm.
Like I've got a new manicure every week, so I'm thinking I might start posting what I've done every week.
Do it. That would be
Like
awesome.
the most recent one is I tried to do a gradient and my light's too bright.
It looks good. It really does.
Like that's what it's supposed to be. But it turned out as a fucked up French manicure with the like jacked lines.
It looks great. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today. We love you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Lay back, relax, enjoy it all. Saturday night, it's time to say no more. S&M with Tally and KRC. Come pleasure or pain, welcome to the stream.